That's all I can say. Australia has won it for everyone else in this world, everyone else that played at the World Cup. Joined with me, Rakimul Haq as always, and another member of Bagheera Alvi Islam to discuss the momentous final that happened, India versus Australia, repeat of the 2003 World Cup final. Um According to Mohammed Kaif, the best team ever that did not win a World Cup, and so many other things. Boys, how does it feel? What are the thoughts, initial thoughts, and initial feelings? Let's get started with that. How do we feel after this 6 wicket win led by Travis Head?
I think anybody who's got access to my Facebook wall knows how I feel. I've
To
gotten messages
the
and
point someone told you stop posting because
stop
I can't
posting me.
react anymore.
they they can't keep up. They can't put so many hahas on reacts on the memes. But yeah, like I said, this is basically the story arc or the ending we've all been waiting for. India's had the perfect run up to the final,
Yeah.
and they were bound to slip up somewhere. Your luck only lasts you for so long. But it would be unfair to say India was lucky in this World Cup because they did play really well. Come the finals, I think with Australia and with I'd say their big game experience and compared to India, and India has been playing semifinals for almost all the ICC tournaments leading up to this. So even India have the big game experience, but with Australia, it's the experience of winning World Cups and not just one or two. Six ODI World Cups, I think two T20 World Cups maybe,
Hmm.
and yeah, and the Test Championship this year as well. So
And the
Australia knows
Ashes
how
this
to
year.
win a final,
Yeah.
and the Ashes as well.
Yeah.
India haven't won a final um, for as long as most
Since
people who watched the final last
2013.
night have been watching cricket.
Yeah.
So India have been out of it for a while, to be honest. And the people who are, crying in the comments on Facebook, on Twitter, on X, saying, "Oh, India was the better team on paper." All the Indian fans crying on Instagram, swearing at Jimmy Neesham
Oh yeah,
because
freaking
India lost.
pathetic. Freaking pathetic. Yeah,
And I think,
just shit.
we're not surprised Indian fans are this way, so are Sri Lankan
Yeah.
fans. But in
Yeah.
general, what really upset me was
Sri
when
Lanka
Richard
just got a stray bullet for no reason.
but what upset me was when Richard Kettleborough went up to receive his award, or I think they gave him a watch. The umpire's got a watch, I think, after the World Cup
Yeah,
final.
yeah, they do. Yeah, all the
The crowd
officials
was
actually.
booing
Yeah,
him. So what's his
yeah,
fault? You guys played. You guys put on a shit show. It's not his fault.
yeah,
So it's just the Indian mentality. I think when you win, oh yeah, we're the best team in the world. But when you lose, you're the saltiest losers we've ever seen,
yeah,
and that was very evident yesterday. Even with the ICC broadcasting, I mean the Star Sports broadcasting panel, who were like, "Oh yeah, India were the better team on paper. India deserved to win. India won our hearts and our gila kolija."
there's
So
nothing
yeah,
called
nobody
deserving
cares
to
who
win.
who
There's
who won
nothing.
on
Yeah,
paper. Congratulations, India, for winning the trophy, for winning 10 games back to back. Good luck, enjoy that.
yeah,
But
yeah,
you didn't win the World Cup.
yeah.
Tough pill to swallow, but it is what it is. Australians came from. Somebody said they came from behind. No, Australia peaked at the right time. India peaked too early. So whose fault is that?
Rakibul, thoughts leading off always points.
One point, you can't really force self-reflection. That's the whole issue. Indian fans think that everyone hates them because they're better than everyone else. But here's the
Yeah.
thing, if that were the case, we wouldn't be supporting a team that already had 5 World Cups to their name. We wouldn't be supporting Australia today by any means if that were the case. The whole
Yeah.
point is Indian cricket, and I really, the one thing I actually feel, the one group of people I feel the most bad for are probably the Indian cricketers because they are the least at fault for this. It's not that they're not entirely, but they're the least at fault for some of the things that are happening. You've spoken about the administrators, the fans, everyone just seems to misuse and mishandle whatever power they've been given at this point.
Yeah.
BCCI are just proving that, while they may look like this cricket loving nation, they're becoming this self loving nation more than anything else. And, we've seen quite a few of those in recent times. So having this, narcissist tendency isn't helping. You can't host a cricket World Cup and make it all about yourself. It
All
just
about,
doesn't
yeah,
work that
yeah,
way.
yeah.
Regardless of how many games you win, even if you won today, I would have come here and said the same thing. You just can't make it all about yourself, because then this is what happens. This is when you have these rowdy fans who think it's okay to boo at an umpire just for doing his job. An umpire, I mean, the umpiring was
The umpires
fine.
got no decisions wrong today. Like
If any, no, no,
the
Except
they
for
did
Steve Smith
technically get a decision wrong, which was in
was
favor of
for
in
India.
India.
favor of
Exactly.
India. Yeah, this was in favor of India.
What are these
Exactly.
guys on about?
Yeah, yeah. No, I
And
think it's pathetic. Yeah, it's
having said
It's
all of that, India, I think it's time to take a step back and self-reflect on the whole thing. Like it's great that you have the money and you have the power to control this game, but this is not how
yeah,
you do it. And at the end of the day, this is not a game that you can just play amongst yourselves. It's a global sport.
yeah,
You have to treat it as such.
like
yeah. One of
Rakibul
the
said,
things.
it's not really the World Cup anymore. It's the Jay Shah Narendra Modi bilateral Pakistan series with the additional 8 other
Yeah,
teams who came to
it's
play,
how many times they can get an India Pakistan game going at the World Cup.
and you only
Uh,
get opening ceremonies for India Pakistan games and the India
yes,
games,
yes,
India
and
finals.
yeah, yeah. No, I think one of the things Rakimo mentioned, and I think Peter Della Penna, who was a Cricinfo correspondent before for North America or for Associate Nations, he said that uh, after Travis had got out with 2 runs to win and having scored 137, the only person cheering for him in blue were the 11 guys on the field. Everyone else on the stands who had the sea of blue. You had the 130,000 people, all of that, etc., etc. No one was cheering for him, and that's, I think, honestly, more than the cricket that was played at the ground. This is even like, when Pat Cummins jokingly says, for most of the bowling innings, we had 130,000 people quiet for most of it. What does that say? It just says you are there for a one purpose. You're there just for, oh, if my team is doing well, I'll cheer. You don't have to cheer for the other team. No one's saying to cheer for the other team. But if there's a cricketing brilliance ongoing, when Travis
You
Head got
acknowledge
a
that. Yeah.
exactly, you respect that, right? Right, and it happens. We've seen that in countries across the world where there are cricketing brilliances, and everyone will stand up and respect that and give it its due honor. But we
I've
don't
even
see that
seen,
as much.
just to add to that, I've even seen a
Yeah,
lot of Indian fans come into this whole defensive mindset and say that this is a very subcontinent thing. You can't expect Asian fans to behave otherwise. But let me tell you something. We Bangladeshi fans may not be the best fan base, but we get a lot of slack from a lot of different countries for a lot of rubbish reasons. And I'll tell you one thing. The first time I remember going to Mirpur for a World Cup was back in 2011. Virender Sehwag scores a century, first game. The entire crowd stands up to applaud him the moment he gets the 100. And this is a year after Virender Sehwag openly in a press conference calls Bangladesh an ordinary team.
yeah.
A year after that. No one's booing him. No one's doing anything. It's stunned silent when he's hitting some of the boundaries, but then when he gets to the century, the whole crowd stands up and cheers for him. It's the same when he gets to the 150. We don't have to do that, but we do that because
No,
that
no.
is what this sport demands. That is
Yeah.
what this game is, right? End of the day. And if you can't appreciate it, the least you can do is stop calling cricket a religion in your country.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
it's just
yeah.
it's just your materialistic form of self obsession and nothing else.
Almost every man on that field had an opinion about what should be an umpire's call and what shouldn't be an umpire's call. Almost every dismissal that got referred up to the third umpire. But one of the more important things, I think, if we don't discuss it, it would be a crime. Is it looks so stupid when a team's won a World Cup. The captain's literally standing by himself on the stage because the chief guest and everyone else and his whole, crew couldn't bother leaving the stage as early as possible after handing him the trophy. They hand him the trophy. They're like going back and forth. All
They
the
don't let go
photo
of the
ops
holding
are
on to
happening.
it.
Yeah, they're like, oh, yo, let me touch it. Like, yo, I gotta touch it. Like, I need to have it on my hand too. Uh, and then fireworks are going off behind him, and his whole team is still these guys are bothered, you know.
And the fireworks almost finished, by the way. The
Yeah,
fireworks
yeah.
almost finished going
They're
off,
they're they're
and the
like
team is on the
handshaking with
podium.
all the Australian players. I loved what Steve Smith did. This guy just like cut. He left as soon as possible, went to the stage directly. He's like, bro, I'm not freaking doing none of this
Yeah,
handshake.
exactly. I really wanted them to do the same thing they did. I think it was 2003 or 2006 when they pushed the
Six.
Indian, the president
Yeah,
off the podium. Like, yeah, off you go,
yeah,
get lost. Pehli
yeah,
fursat mein nikal, and now we celebrate.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So
They
in
should
the,
they should have
I
done that with
guess
maybe not with Modi because Modi doesn't know what's going on, but Jay
yeah,
Shah 100% he had it coming.
100%. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So like I guess yeah, I guess in short, how bad does that look for any new fans who've watched cricket for the first time today, or someone who's watched it for the first time today, just to see what the Cricket World Cup final is about, and they're watching this captain just standing there by himself uh, with the trophy while his whole team is having to attend someone else outside.
I think
It's
without this,
bad, especially.
go ahead, go ahead.
Go ahead, Alvin.
Yeah.
You're
So I think
someone.
besides the final itself, just the entire World Cup as a whole. Let's say, for example, who are the new fans watching this time who've never watched cricket before? The
Mostly, I
Argentinian
would say,
fans, the
yeah,
Argentinian fans who
yeah,
were watching because of Bangladesh. Let's say who were,
yeah,
even if they went to the final.
yeah,
What could have they thought happens at a cricket World Cup? Only the home team gets opening ceremonies. Only the home team gets fireworks for their national anthem, and
yeah,
when their team is playing, only the home team gets a full stadium, and only
yeah,
the home team gets a crowd. Nobody else gets a crowd. Nobody else gets supporters or the jam-packed house. No
yeah,
fireworks. No opening ceremony. Nothing. So it brings cricket to them in a bad light, where they think this is very home team centric. It's
yeah,
not fair to everyone.
yeah.
And then you look at the other games, such as, let's say, for example, India Pakistan, which was they made the one game seem bigger than the whole World
Bigger
Cup
than the
itself.
whole tournament. Yeah, yeah. Just like they did in the Asia Cup when they had like all sort of playing conditions just for that one
Exactly.
game. Yeah,
And then you look at when India is changing the pitch for themselves at a semi-final, not even at a group stage game. It's
yeah,
at a
yeah, yeah,
semi-final.
yeah,
Sort of bypassing the ICC and their bylaws and regulations.
yeah,
It sort of tells to them that ICC is a more, let's
extension of
say,
BCCI.
not really an extension because they don't have that idea that we do of
Yeah, yeah,
ICC
yeah,
being
yeah, yeah.
BCCI's. Let's not say if I don't know if not to say it, but
Goes. You can say
but
it.
um, they sort of think as
It's a
ICC or
weak body, It's like yeah,
inferior to FIFA.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
FIFA has the guts to do whatever they want because
yeah,
FIFA isn't owned and run by one country.
yeah,
ICC, as you can see, is. So they're sort of helpless in front of India and what they want to do when a home country changes the pitch before a semi-final and they don't even care what you have to say about it. That presents ICC as a very weak organization in front of, let's say, Argentina or new potential fans.
yeah. Rakimo, thoughts?
No, that pretty much covers the topic we were talking about. And
Yeah,
look, new fans, they're barely trying to attract new fans as is.
yeah,
At
yeah,
this point, I'm even confused if they're trying to retain old fans or not. They just want to generate some numbers in India games and just show that, okay, look, these are the turnovers for India matches. Other teams, they probably don't have as many fans. I mean, I don't know what else to say. You've been denying visas. There have been cases of fans coming in from other countries and their tickets getting stolen.
yeah,
I don't know how. You're such a digitized country. I'm not even saying that sarcastically. You are such a
yeah,
digitized country. You don't
yeah.
have digital tickets.
No,
That's a fucking joke at this point, right?
yeah.
How do
No,
you
I
not
mean,
have digitized tickets?
exactly. Yeah, like you put it into perspective. Alvi and I went to watch 2022 T20 World Cup, even though he's local to Australia and I went, from Canada. We had tickets in February 2022 for a tournament that
And
was
and
in
I,
November
I couldn't buy
2020.
the tickets because of because the servers were down. He bought the
Yeah,
tickets from Canada, and I
yeah,
couldn't. So
yeah,
that shows how transparent it is, everywhere across the globe.
yeah,
Well, it might not be for me. Whereas in India, you have to be there. You need your visa that you cannot get, and then you have your
yeah,
ticket stolen.
yeah.
Bullshit.
Bullshit. And okay, so one of the main things. This I actually hated seeing it on TV, um, because I think it just surpasses general courtesy, general respect, professionalism, all sorts of things. When you have the 15 from the runners-up team, these guys are all coming up on stage wearing shorts,
with their shorts, flippers,
hoodies,
slippers, whatever.
slippers, whatever the hell they want to wear, and they have this whole face. I know, I understand you are disappointed, you're not at a good space mindset or whatever it is because you've lost the World Cup final. You know, you were 10 and 0, but that doesn't mean you take general courtesy out of it. England and New Zealand were in this similar position in 2020, 2019. You go back to 2015, Australia and New Zealand, similar positions. We've been there, we've seen these before. This is the bare minimum that you do.
You're playing a
How is
final. You
some,
put your jersey on.
yeah,
It's not that
exactly. You
hard.
put your jersey on. It's not that hard. It's not like no one's asking you to wear your whole hat or your whole floppy or something. Shoes, trousers, jersey, simple.
How hard is that?
Someone like Ravichandran Ashwin writing long threads on X about how, he believes in the spirit of the game, his version
Mm,
of spirit of the game and everything, and then he wears this hoodie and pair of shorts. Everyone
yeah,
calls him the smartest man in cricket, and he's not smart enough to know what he's supposed to dress up like
yeah.
just for
And
receiving
then
this
their
runners-up
fans
medal.
are worried about yelling at Jimmy Nisham on Instagram.
On
You
Instagram, yeah.
A man who literally wasn't playing. I
Yeah,
It had
yeah.
nothing to do with the
He's
final.
like, I woke up and what happened? Like,
Oh.
no, I mean, have you guys seen any of this before? Like something like this, even similar to it before? I don't recall it.
I don't recall, but I don't think any of us are surprised at this point. Like it's what you'd
Yeah,
expect
yeah,
from them. It's sort
yeah,
of a if I win, everything is good. If I lose, I don't care sort of attitude. So
yeah.
it's like the how we say it's my bet when we're playing on the street, and if I'm out, I go home with my
If
bet.
I'm,
That's it.
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, I mean, okay. If you want to get into the game a little bit, the happenings of the game, obviously, toss time. Um, Pat Cummins has been on their case since yesterday. Obviously, took some pictures of the pitch and whatnot, and those made the rounds on the internet quite a bit. But then this guy was there looking at the coin today. He's like, "Yo, let me make sure this
He went
actually."
down. He went down. Did he go down and look
No,
at
he
it?
didn't went down. He just leaned over and took a
Lean
look.
over.
He's like, "Yo,
And
I'm not playing no games today." Like,
surprisingly, Rohit actually tossed the coin onto the mat
onto the
yesterday.
mat. Yeah, it didn't go onto the
He
like the
didn't go,
fifth wicket.
into the next
Yeah,
pitch.
yeah, yeah. But at any point were you guys surprised about what he had chosen to do, despite knowing that India, obviously, they're a good chasing team, but they also love to put runs on the board. Any surprises there for you guys?
Rocky Mushruga?
So the whole thing was a little surprising in a sense that India have done well in the past few games batting first. So
Yeah,
that was the initial surprise. Australia did struggle in the previous game chasing, and we know that the conditions were obviously going to be slow and low. So it was again going to be a bit difficult. But what Pat Cummins very correctly predicted is a bit of dew is going to come in, and more importantly, even with the minimum dew, a pitch got much more even under lights. It
yeah,
started. ac- It did misbehave a little towards the start, but that's almost a given at this point. Other
yeah,
than that, the spinners weren't getting too much out of the wicket, which they were getting towards the first innings, the first half of the game. And I think that's where Pat Cummins and the entire Australian setup coach and everyone else involved read the conditions much better than most of us did from afar. Because even Rohit, I know it's very funny. So I've even seen some fans talk about how the toss basically decided the game. I don't know how because Rohit openly said that he wanted
He
to
would
yeah.
bat
have
He
bet
first.
wanted to
first.
bat first. Exactly.
So I'm very confused what that is supposed to mean.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Indian fans will latch on to anything to justify their own self. Let's put that aside for now.
Yeah,
I think what Australia showed brilliantly is the fact that they had bowling plans for every batsman, and you could see it. And
yeah,
I don't think it was just one plan. I think they had multiple, plan A, B, maybe even a plan C. The way Shubman Gill got out is the way he got out, let's say, three times in the tournament. Short ball outside of, too much room to pull. He could have cut those, but he chose to pull them because reflexes. So
Yeah.
sorry. So yeah, because of that, Shubman Gill's dismissal. But I think the even more or the stronger example of Australia planning, anticipating India's batsman was Surya Kumar Yadav, because they know if they're bowling on leg stump, shoulder height, he's playing his shot. He's playing the
Yeah.
Surya Kumar shot.
Yeah.
But if there's space off, he can't do anything with it.
Yeah.
And
Especially on this pitch.
I was at a restaurant with a couple of guys, and we were watching the game on the TV at the restaurant, and he was bowling cutters into the pitch, shoulder height, and all he was doing was just gloving them, gloving everything
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
glove,
Just kept going. Yeah.
and then eventually he lobbed one up to the keeper.
Yeah.
So what we say in Bangla, basically bole out kurse. He
Yeah.
told the
Yeah.
batsman, "I'll get you out like this," and he got him out.
Yeah.
And that sort of me was more of a statement. I mean, they had already been constricting India for the past maybe 30 overs with barely one or two boundaries.
Yeah.
So and then to go back at the back end and do that to somebody like a Surya Kumar Yadav who could be destructive on his day, that
Yeah.
sends a message to India that we know what we're doing and we know what you want to do. So you're basically checkmate. And then when they come out to bat, the first two overs going for 20 odd runs sort of set the tone, because that meant that they wouldn't have to worry about the run rate, because they've already got 20, 30 runs already. They're sort of away with it already. So even though they lost 2, 3 wickets, I think Travis Head was able to compose himself and not get carried away like the previous game where I think he scored 50 odd really quick. But today he took his time and he knew you know they didn't have the pressure of having to score too many runs, so that's why he could take his time
Yeah.
and build his innings.
Yeah. I
One
guess.
small thing that definitely helps is the fact that
Mhm.
India in their last 2, 3 games have played on very, very flat surfaces, whereas
Yeah.
Australia, just in the game before, played on a very low and slow wicket, which not I wouldn't say it was as slow, but it was turning, it was gripping at the Eden Gardens, and that sort of helped them prepare. And we have to understand this isn't 2005. This isn't Australia being weak against any form of spin that's low and slow anymore. This
Yeah.
Australian team is much better against spin than one would anticipate, and the Indians aren't as good against spinners as a lot of the stereotypes would suggest.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, Ali was mentioning about, Travis had getting off to a start. If we just focus on India's batting to start with, Rohit Sharma, you know, um, of the same formula that he's been on throughout the World Cup, uh, just going guns blazing. And then Travis Hart pulls off what many would arguably say as catch of the tournament. Um, but what we've seen the last couple of games or throughout the whole tournament was Rohit Sharma setting that stage, and then these guys are carrying it forward toward for the rest of the innings. Where do you think they went wrong, despite KL and Virat both getting 50 plus scores, but it almost looked like they never got into a state where they were completely set in the crease? It just looked like scratchy 50s to some extent.
I think Virat was looking relatively comfortable. Like, I wouldn't say he was looking good, but he
Yeah.
was looking comfortable to get the singles and twos and rotate the strike. KL, on the other hand, looked uncomfortable. He looked like he was getting bogged down. He was getting the runs, but he wasn't
And
getting
he
them.
was getting like frustrated at a point. Yeah, he was getting, yeah.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
because of that, because Kohli was, he was sort of on a roll, he had the confidence to play the shots he was playing, which eventually led to him getting out. But KL, like you said, was always looking scrappy, bits and pieces. So they never really got the momentum to start hitting the boundaries or to start, to get away with the score.
Yeah.
And I think that's where Australian fielding came into play, having the field set, bowling to your field,
Yes.
and then,
I think
what do
from the
we-
first over itself, they were fielding
yeah, because
exceptionally well, right?
the
It
first
just looked
ball
like they were hungry.
the first ball was down the leg side on the pads. The second ball was hit to, if I'm not wrong, hit mid off,
Super
and
covers. Super covers.
Pat Cummins, threw
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
big
yeah.
drive and he
So,
stopped the ball. It
yeah,
would have gone for four, but he stopped it anyways.
yeah,
And that sort of set the tone for Australian fielding and bowling yesterday. And like I was saying, with fielding, you can sort of look at it in three steps. The first step is fielding, is setting the right field. The second step is bowling to your field and
Yeah.
expecting the fielder to stop them and stop the run to get the ball.
Yeah.
And then when you set the field, you bowl to your field, and then the fielder goes the extra mile and stops a two, makes it into a one or stops a four.
Yeah.
You've really reached your maximum utility of fielding. You've really gone the distance, and you're getting the best out of your fielders. So if you can put that kind of pressure on the batsmen and not
Yeah.
let them rotate the strike, we saw what happened, and that's the perfect example. You create pressure, you don't give boundaries, and you can see how frustrated they get. And I think
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
that sort of
100%.
outlines or sort of says to all the other teams or even young cricketers how important fielding can be,
Yeah.
regardless of your batting. Just the fielding itself can win you a game if you're doing it smartly.
As Albi said, the field setting was absolutely phenomenal from the beginning. And I think more importantly, Fardin and I, we were talking particularly in the second innings, especially when Travis Head kept attacking, that a lot of the difficult chances, a lot of the difficult boundaries which the Indian fielders couldn't stop, the Australian fielders were stopping all of those. We're talking
Yeah.
ones, twos saved in almost
Yeah.
every overs.
Yeah.
You save 2 to 4 runs every overs, that culminates into a lot of
Yeah.
runs, which makes
Yeah.
up for a lot of boundaries even.
You
And
save
one
two
very
runs
important
every over for 50 overs. That's 100 runs, right? Yeah.
hundred
It's,
percent, 100%.
yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
the way Rohit Sharma got out. As you said, these are exactly the scores Rohit Sharma was getting. He wasn't getting
Yeah.
hundreds every game. No,
No.
these are the kind of scores,
45,
quick
50,
fire 40s and stuff.
45, 47. Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
I saw a comment where someone was praising his quick fire start, and the other person was like, "No, today we needed something different." This was from an Indian fan, and logical that they said that today we needed something different. We actually needed him to stabilize the innings a bit more after he got the quick start. His job
Yeah.
wasn't done right there and then. And when you get a catch like that, for me, Travis Head becoming the man of the match, his century came second. That catch, that for
It
me
changed
sealed it.
the course of the game 100% because
When you take a
Maxwell's
catch
gone
like
for
that,
what, six and a four already. Yeah. Or 6-4-4, something like that.
something like that. Yeah, I think it was
Yeah.
6-4, 4-6, and then he goes for another, gets caught like that. It
Yeah.
lifts the entire team's morale. And one very good thing they did during the whole Kohli Rahul partnership was they never, absolutely never left their foot off the throttle.
Yeah.
They kept pressing. The fielders were on their toes the entire time. The bowling was disciplined the entire time. Can you imagine a partnership like that goes on for around 100 deliveries with one boundary?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Batters of KL Rahul and Virat Kohli's caliber. Can you honestly
Chokers,
imagine that?
chokers.
Chokers. The real
I
chokers.
think for India, the correct term is bottlers in this context because they managed to, make it past, like, unlike South Africa, they make it past one or two knockout games.
Friendlies,
But
yeah.
then when they're absolutely supposed to make it count, bam, they lose it.
And they had the start to win the game. They were on, I think, 50, 60 odd for one before they lost, Rohit. So they were
Yeah.
well on track.
So, I think, I mean, there's not much to really talk about in terms of batting, I guess, for India's perspective, because, once they never really found like no none of the set batters found support from anyone. The other thing that we'll get to the bowling part and talk about the woke guy getting some important wickets, but um, the choice that they made of sending Ravindra Jadeja ahead of Surya Kumar Yadav. How do you view that decision, and was that a decision that kind of backfired, or what do you make of it?
It was a very Bangladeshi decision, lefty righty combination. Um, I don't think it backfired because Jadeja has those two gears. He can sort of play let's call it the anchor or the accumulator role. He can
Yeah,
also play the aggressor or the finisher role. So he has both games.
they
What
messed him
happened?
up by reviewing the ball before that,
Exactly,
and then
exactly. So
yeah,
I think the ball before sort of, I thought it was out, but there
I
was
thought
no
so too. I
evidence.
actually
Yeah,
thought
there
so
was no
too.
evidence,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
and karma sort of caught up with him next ball. So I mean, what happened, I think, really, besides the nick or everything else, was he was in two minds completely when he was playing the innings, not really the shot. because
Yeah.
the time that he got out, it was the time when India, ideally would be wanting you know, a 300, 320 sort of score from where they
Yeah.
were.
Yeah.
And he thought, or he might have thought to himself, if he keeps on going as he is going, they might get to 270 max. So he needs to go.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to take up the onus and go for the big shots, try and get them to 320 at least to have a fighting score.
Yeah.
So he sort of got caught in the situation, and he wasn't able to perform or wasn't able to take the pressure on. So that's where he got caught. If India had sent in Surya Kumar Yadav before Jadeja, putting aside the lefty righty combination, we've all seen how bad Sky is in
In
ODIs.
ODIs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that too in the nearing the end. So just before the death of, let's say, 35, 30 odd overs when he goes in, when what ideally or supposedly should be the best time for him, get
Yeah.
set and then unleash, he's failing where people expect him to perform the best. And we've been seeing that from the India Australia series at the beginning of the year, where he got, I think, two ducks back to back.
Yeah. Ashton
He
Agar with
failed.
straight deliveries did not
He
turn.
failed against Bangladesh in the Asia Cup game.
Yeah.
And just in general, he hasn't been performing when the team needs him, because he is their last line of defense. After him, it's the guys like Shami and Bumrah and whatever. So
Yeah.
sending him in early could have led to an earlier fall of the wicket. So I think tactically, in terms of not wanting to lose your finisher early, makes sense. But the lefty righty to me doesn't make sense, because Australia are a team who I think have played enough cricket to not be affected by the
And
lefty righty
they,
thing.
they they prey on those kind of like back-minded,
Yeah, exactly.
back-minded
Exactly.
tactics
Just
like that because
because
yeah.
India went ahead and they tried to do something out of the box. For Australia, that means, hey, look, we're on the front foot. They're the ones who have to,
Head
keep.
was into the attack, Maxwell was into the attack, they were playing games at that point
And
almost.
Maxwell yesterday he wasn't an afterthought. He was a frontline, bowler, and he was bowling
Yeah.
even before Pat Cummins. So Maxwell yesterday really, they gave him the ball and they said, hey, you do you, go ahead, do what you like and bring us back into the game. So Maxwell, I think he got that sort of license from the I think from the England game, maybe, or just around that, when he was being given the ball a bit more, and then he was being given the chance to bowl more regularly, and preparing him for the final or the playoffs.
Here's my question to you guys. India keep making these selection blunders, just one or two calls that end up costing them at the end. Especially because, with India, you expect them to go all the way, and then it comes down to these playoffs, these
Yeah.
finals, and it costs them.
Yeah.
How big a blunder was the selection of Surya Kumar Yadav into this 15-man squad when they definitely had better options, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's just you look at it this way that sometimes I feel like maybe it's a subcontinent thing, or maybe it's a thing of teams thinking about, oh, the ceiling is super high for this player. What I will get out of him on a very good day from him is super high, to the point, it can be X factor. But my thing is, if an X factor player is not in form, or if he's not delivering, then is he really bringing that X factor aspect for you, right? So I think this is where Akshar Patel definitely missed out, because Akshar Patel's been in really good form. Ravi Ashwin, you could say he's missed out too, because if Jadeja's batting six already, you're already thinking, do I really need to play Sky at seven? Someone like Sanju Samson, 55 ODI average, reserved for the Asia Cup, didn't play, was sent home halfway through the Asia Cup, not picked for the World Cup, right? So those are the kind of guys that you could have utilized in these kind of situations. And Sanju Samson, we know he's arguably one of the better players of spin, or even like indifferent bowling, you can say, like mystery bowling, bowlers who bowl cutters, things like that within India. So for him to basically not be available, or I mean, not even be selected, means that India had this one memo, one kind of template that they really wanted to stick to, and they thought Sky's returns from T20 cricket was going to make up for it. And also, you look at someone like Shreyas Iyer, amazing World Cup, despite what had happened today. But you look at the way he was batting. He's batting as if Fatin Afnan said this while we were watching the game. He's batting as if they're batting at Parth or at Waka or something like that. He's so upright, and the ball is not bouncing that high for him in this pitch. So some of these players or some of these tactics are quite rigid to a point that, when things change a little. And I can tell you right now, if Bangladesh was hosting the World Cup and this is the pitch that showed up on the final, we would be catching so much shit for it and so much heat for it. But
We'd get banned from hosting international games in Bangladesh
yeah,
forever.
because BCCI doesn't, no one cares, no one bats an eye anymore.
No, sorry, just to interrupt. Did you guys see the picture of Mitch Marsh with his foot,
On
actually
the
both his feet
trophy,
over the World
Yeah,
Cup?
the trophy, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I just came across that. So
Yeah, yeah. No, I think what happened there is, so there's the Aussie tradition where they
mhm.
drink beer out of the shoes of the players,
Yeah,
and
they
that's
do a
not
shoey.
yeah, that's not to, like, justify him having his foot over the World Cup, but I think that's why the shoes are off and
I
stuff
think
like that.
shoes in Australia aren't considered disrespectful as they are
Yeah,
in Southeast Asia.
But
Southeast
he literally
Asia.
had his shoes off. That's the funniest part. He just had his yellow
Yeah,
socks on.
yeah. It's just, I think. The other thing I was actually going to ask in terms of the batting lineup, and I mean batting for India, just to round up their uh, batting innings, did the fa- aspect of that, the aspect they were worried about, even when they selected their World Cup squad, was outside top seven, no one really bats. Um, and we've talked about it throughout the World Cup that they hadn't been tested outside of Mohammad Shami, and we saw how easy it was for Australia to basically wrap it up. Uh, how how quickly did that catch up at the most important game of the tournament?
I think the tail did fairly decent to get the extra 25
At
runs.
least 20-25 runs. Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess you can say. Yeah.
I expected Australia when they were 214 for 8 or 9. I expected Australia to finish them before 220. So I was disappointed we gave them the extra 20 runs. As with regards to the middle
Man said
order,
we. Man said we.
yeah, of
That's
course,
right.
100%.
Yeah, 100%.
Now, but with regards to the middle order and Surya Kumar Yadav's selection, it's
Yeah.
very easy to bash on him and the selectors, ex post facto when they've already failed. But I think going into the World Cup, we all expected for Sky, you know, for him, for the sky to be the limit, honestly speaking,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because of how well he was doing in the IPL for Mumbai. And he's shown it. He's shown that on his day, he can be the one man show that they need or want him to be. And to be honest, India's other, first pick ahead of him was, Karke Aya Pandya, who was unfortunately injured, thanks to Liton Dash, who
Yeah.
also paved the way for
Do,
Mohammad
do you
Shami.
think, I guess, do you think him having to come out to bat against a softer ball rather than, in T20s and stuff, he bats at the
Maybe,
top
yeah,
of
might have
the
been.
other when
Might have
it's a
been.
harder ball might be the difference
But then
maker?
again, then
I mean,
again,
that's a very important factor.
In T20s, do we play with one new ball or two new balls?
It's
One,
one ball.
Right.
just
So
one.
when he comes out to bat, let's say 10 overs in, the ball's 10 overs old. When he comes out to bat 25, 30 overs in, the ball's 15 overs old. It's not too different, I'd say.
But
Yeah, but
one
if
thing we
he's
have to keep
batting,
in
yeah,
mind is
yeah,
Surya Kumar Yadav at his best in any format is a consistent top four or top five. In T20Is, always bats top four. In
yeah.
IPL, he always bats number three. Here, he's being expected to be a finisher. We have this idea that all aggressive players can suddenly become finishers, but that's not the case. Finishing itself is an art. I mean, if you desperately, I'm not saying that this is the best mode of selection and hindsight is 2020 and whatnot, but if you
Yeah.
desperately need a finisher, you are literally better off with Rinku Singh than you are with Surya Kumar Yadav. Because
100%.
that man knows how to
Hundred
100%.
finish the innings.
percent. Five sixes ain't no joke, man. Ain't no
Yeah.
joke. Yeah.
But then if we're bringing in Rinku Singh, who, I mean, hypothetically, who hasn't debuted yet, we'd say, Tilak Varma is ahead of
Actually,
him, who has debuted. Tilak Varma,
Yeah,
who
but
could have
that's
made the
still a
cut
top
but
order
didn't.
batsman, right?
Top
That's still
order
a top
batter,
order batsman.
like three,
It's not a
four.
Yeah,
finisher.
I think when he played the West Indies series, he played five, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah,
But
but
then again, 5 and 7 are still both, two
still,
different things.
yeah,
I think India, when they lost Hardik Pandya, they sort of their only go-to other option was Sky,
Sky.
because who else would they bring in? They couldn't bring somebody in. Shardul is more bowling heavy. So
That's where
and
this replacement made it didn't make a lot of sense. The replacement for Hardik Pandya because
yeah, better in a
picking
bowler.
picking exactly like why are you picking Prasidh Krishna? What is the reason for that?
Yeah, why bring in Prasidh Krishna at all in the first place? Unless
Yeah,
somebody gets injured, but if they get
yeah.
injured, you can bring
But
in a
if they get
reserve.
injured, you can get him regardless, right? In
Exactly.
that
Yeah.
situation. So
It's not like you have to
yeah,
fly them in from afar. You're literally playing a home World Cup here.
Yeah. So Akshar Patel was also he had a broken finger now, so he couldn't play anyways.
no, he couldn't play anyways. Yeah.
So I don't think they had any other options for a finishing spot.
All right.
Maybe
So the
someone like
woke,
Shivam
yeah.
Dubey, if you want someone who has actually played
Shivam
T20.
Dubey is India's Saifuddin, but even worse. So
No, no,
no
but,
thanks.
but but he had a good season though. He had a good season
Yeah.
of the IPL. He had a fairly good Asian game, I think. So still, he could have been considered.
It would have been like left field calls, whereas yeah, I mean begs the question then, did they really look into alternate
But
options
now
as to
now the bigger
what
question is: does
yeah.
India proceed with Sky in ODIs, or do they discard him and move him to
They
I
will
don't
T20?
think so.
100%
I
not do
don't
that. They will
no,
not
I
do
don't
that.
think so. I
They
think
won't discard,
even
or they won't follow with him.
they
They
won't
won't
follow
follow
with
with
him.
him.
I think even like through the World Cup they probably would have communicated to him that, you know, this is your chance. You either make it or you break it kind of a situation. Because you look at the kind of guys that are waiting in the wings. You're hearing rumors of Rian Parag getting a chance in the T20I series is coming up
Yeah,
and things like that.
Rinku Singh.
So Rinku Singh and all those guys will, play some part in the upcoming T20 series. So, you know, 3 4 years down the line, are they really going to persist with someone like this, or even 15 months from now when they're playing Champions Trophy? Um,
And
Probably
Sky's
not.
pretty old. He's like 33, right?
Yeah, yeah, 30,
As
three
guy's
30.
next mission is the T20 World Cup. He literally doesn't have to play any ODIs or
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
test
He
matches.
got a call up pretty late. So for him, his career it's gonna be only IPL going forward after 2 years maybe.
yeah. All right, so Mitchell Stark. I guess you could arguably say throughout the World Cup, he kind of looked undercooked in terms of fitness. It looked like, he was not bowling at his 100% in some of the games. No, I wouldn't say all of the games because, he's still someone who comes out day in, day out and puts his 110% out there. But big day, three for, and then the woke guy, the woke captain, um, two very important wickets. Michael Clark said he was getting dropped as captain. I don't even know where Michael Clark is right now. Um, Adam Zampa bowled a little quicker than I would have liked him to bowl, I think, in this pitch because it was a slower wicket. He could have probably gotten more purchase bowling the Kuldeep Yadav type of pace, 80s, mid 80s, high 80s, rather than looking at a mid 90 kind of a range. Um, what are you guys' overall thoughts on Aussie bowling and how well they kept India in check?
Aussie new ball bowling looked completely different in the last two games, as in the knockout games,
Yeah,
versus the group stage games. That's what Australia do, right? They turn up to play their best
on a
game
big day.
in these sort of scenarios. And
Yeah,
that's exactly what we saw. With Mitchell Stark, you know that, he is on the wrong side of 30. He's not going to generate the express pace that we've seen from him, or the swing for that matter, given the
Cummins was
conditions.
bowling 140 plus. I was crazy.
Yeah, yeah. This is again, this is Cummins literally saving himself up for the big match. Cummins
Yeah,
knows his back cannot support him bowling 140 plus for 10
throughout
or
the
11
tournament.
matches straight. It
Yeah,
just won't happen. Same with
yeah,
Stark. He was, since the warm up matches where he picked up the hat trick, you could see that he was literally saving his body
yeah.
up for the long tournament. These guys know that they're going to make it. They don't, one of them doesn't need to pick up 25, 30 wickets for them to go all the way
Confidence.
to the finals. They know
Yeah.
that they're going to make it to the end, and they have to basically save themselves up and save their best game up. And that's what they did. Hazelwood, he looked exceptionally good. In a lot of the matches, we were talking about how Hazelwood wasn't even bowling his full quota of 10 overs. But today they
Yeah.
realized he's going to be extremely handy against someone like Surya Kumar Yadav. They bowled him out. So these are the flexibility within the plans of Australia. When India or some other team try to make too many changes in these sort of scenarios, which we saw with Mohammad Shami taking the new ball, it doesn't necessarily work as well as it does with Australia having that flexibility in their planning.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
I'll
think
be.
besides utilizing your bowlers and preserving energy, rotating them smartly, Australia, their self-assessment is really good. So they know what they're capable of. They know how far their limits are, and they know when to exercise restraint.
Yeah.
Something we don't see with the Bangladesh team, for example. You burn out, you bowl, full steam ahead at every other franchise tournament. Then you come to the World Cup and you got a broken back, broken finger, whatnot.
1 year ago, Cummins
After you
took
barely
leave
make it
from
to
the
any franchise
IPL.
league as is.
Yeah, I mean, and then you go to these franchise leagues, and as much as we love watching them play franchise leagues,
Yeah.
if you don't
Blake.
look at the bigger picture, what's the point? You gain the experience, you learn what you need to learn.
And
If you
that's why
can't
the
utilize it,
Australia England workload management comes into play a lot,
right?
right? Because they manage their players so well.
And like Rakimu said, the Australian quicks, Cummins and Stark, they looked below average throughout the tournament. They were doing good enough. They were doing what was
Cummins
expected
was
of
getting
them.
carted around. Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
But Stark wasn't. Like Hades Rauf was probably the most expensive bowler. Stark was the
Yeah.
second most expensive bowler.
Yeah.
I mean, end of the day, the guy who told me that was an India supporter. Look at him now. Look at me now. So Stark walks up to the final, gets 3 wickets, and sends India back to Ahmedabad. Let's call it Jay Shah's office to fix their next tournament. So yeah, Australia, they know what they're doing. They've got a clear vision. They've got a clear mind, and they've planned out everything months ahead. Let's even call it a year ahead. They know who is in contention. They know who has to be fit on time, and they're doing it like it's your daily work, day in day out. It's what's
Yeah.
expected of you. Whereas for us, we change the captain a month before the World Cup. We change a coach, we change our fast bowling cartel. Our one of our best bowlers gets injured for a year for
Yeah.
pulling out of a delivery because he was close to the umpire. That's just pathetic.
Yeah. No, I think Australia's overall management of the bowling attack. You guys mentioned earlier on the show today how well Australia had different plans to each batsman. Every batter they went for plan A, B, C if they needed it. Someone like Shubman Gill or Shreyas Iyer, they got them with plan A, and they didn't need to go to any fallback options. How satisfied are you guys with Australia essentially coming into the World Cup with one frontline spinner, putting all the trust that they did into Glenn Maxwell, and basically empowering guys to take responsibility for their own performance rather than filling it with quantity. For a squad of 15, you don't have a lot of wiggle room, but they always empowered guys to go and perform at their 110%.
That comes with confidence. If you've got the confidence in yourself to know that you can deliver when it counts, if you've got the backing and the belief in the change room that they know you can deliver when it counts,
Yeah.
you don't need, 6 extra bowlers. If you
Yeah.
got 5 guys who can do the job, if you know your part timers, let's not even call them part timers. Glenn Maxwell's an all rounder.
Yeah.
Travis Head is an all rounder.
Yeah.
Labuschagne, he bowls everything. He's an all rounder. He's not even a
Yeah.
part timer. If
Yeah.
anything, Steven Smith now has become a part timer. He's no longer an
Yeah.
all rounder. He bowls less often than I'd say Labuschagne even.
Yeah.
So if you've got that many bowling options who are all rounders and not, batting batters who can bowl a bit, you don't need that many, let's call them
Frontline options. Yeah.
spinners.
Yeah.
Why do you need variation? Why do you need different bowlers? You need guys who can get you breakthroughs. If you've got quick
Yes.
bowlers who can get you breakthroughs, if you've got all rounders who can get you breakthroughs, if you've got a leg spinner who can get you breakthroughs consistently, you don't need too many options in the bowling unit because your batsmen or your all rounders are helping out. Whereas India, I looked at their lineup on the day of the New Zealand game and even yesterday. They're going very heavy with their bowlers and bowlers only.
Hmm.
And then, they're sort of saying, look, we've got only five guys, but we know they can get the job done. We're
Yeah.
very confident in them. We're sort of overconfident in them.
Yeah.
And our only other bowling options are guys like Virat, Rohit, Shreyas Iyer,
Yes.
Chahal's wife,
Should I go on? Yeah. Shubman Gill.
Surya Kumar. So
Yeah.
I also said Chahal's wife, by the way. So you missed that. Like I was saying, so if you've got these guys as your backup bowlers,
Yeah.
how much confidence does that give you as a captain? If if your main bowlers are getting trunked around the park, you
Yeah.
have to go to Chahala Shotin to bowl at someone like a Glenn Maxwell or Stephen Smith.
Yeah.
So having proper all rounders is what helped Australia get by, despite having one specialist spinner.
Yeah.
Whereas if you look at, um, let's say again, a team like Bangladesh, we have a lot of all rounders, but they're not impact all rounders. Mehdi in
Right.
ODIs, his
Yeah.
balls turn straight, unfortunately. Shanto, he's a fun guy. It's exciting to watch him bat and bowl, but we've only seen him bowl a handful of times, so we don't know what he brings to the table in the long
Yeah.
run.
Yeah.
Guys like Ridoy, he can turn the arm over. Liton can bowl some leg spin if you really need him to. Afif,
Now you're stretching. Now you're
yeah,
stretching.
Afif, he's neither here nor there. Mahmudullah Riyad, yeah, he's good, but he won't get you wickets. He can maybe contain, but he can't bring you wickets. So your all-rounders have to, have teeth. Your all-rounders can't be toothless. So it's once again, it's a mix of both, and I think it's just the confidence they have in their bowlers that if we know our four frontline bowlers are struggling, our all-rounders are capable enough to get us the breakthroughs that we need. Our all-rounders aren't also our main bowlers we have to rely on, sort of like Jadeja or Shakib.
Yeah.
So that is what brings Australia to where they are today.
As we said, India pretty much had five solid bowling options and nothing else. And once
Yeah.
again, seven batting options and nothing else. There's no
Yeah.
bridge connecting the two, which became a problem. And see, I know a lot of fans were celebrating literally Mohammad Shami's achievement, which is great in the semifinals. But some
Yeah.
of them took it the wrong way and kept saying that, it's great that Hardik Pandya got injured and whatnot. To
Yes. Yes.
which some people rightly pointed out that this man, when you're going to miss this man, he's going to leave such a gaping hole. Like,
Yeah.
if ever it comes down to that, you can fill
Yeah.
that gaping hole. And that is
Yeah.
exactly what we saw. With Hardik Pandya not there, you miss that bridge. You miss that second all rounder, which you desperately need. It's
Yeah.
okay. Shardul Thakur isn't good enough to make the squad 11 right now. Ravichandran Ashwin, it was a tough call to replace him with Siraj. You didn't make that call. That's okay. But Hardik Pandya, this is why Hardik Pandya walks into any side. And we also have to remember the whole mindset that Hardik Pandya carries.
Yeah.
In some of the last ICC knockout games that India lost, Hardik Pandya played exceptionally well, and he's the one who kept India's hopes alive in all of
Yeah.
those matches.
100%. 100%. I guess because we're talking about impact and things like that. Mohammad Shami obviously got the 7 for, and then like you mentioned, he took the new ball today, 47 for three, chasing 241. Marsh, Warner thrown away, literally gave their wicket away on wide deliveries. Absolutely had no business getting wickets of those deliveries. And then Steve Smith basically not reviewing what should have. He's one guy who literally reviews every decision, except the one day for some reason he does not review it. Um, I don't know how that works. And Travis Head was so quick to dismiss him and tell him that, it's hitting pretty plumb. So Travis Head was going at his own speed from the other end, while he lost 3 wickets from that end. What are you guys thinking at that point, and how disappointed are you with, despite having good World Cups in their own stature, three very experienced guys throwing their wickets away?
I think Warner, I'm not surprised. He's too busy making TikToks and
Yeah, yeah. He wanted to impress
singing
his
Indian songs,
friends. Yeah, yeah.
and he probably got a signing bonus too, so it's okay. But
That's what we were saying when we were watching it.
um, with Marsh, I didn't expect him. I mean, we knew he was gonna go for it. It's pretty
Yeah,
obvious Marsh is gonna go for it, and the way he got out going for it, not surprised. But with Marsh,
you don't expect an under edge from him.
yeah, you don't expect
Yeah,
under edge.
yeah,
Even an outside edge or top edge, understandable. Even if he chops one on, understandable. But
yeah,
under edge and caught behind from Marsh, very unlikely.
yeah.
But yeah, I think with the attitude he had and then the way he was going about his job, I mean, you kind of expect it. You expect
Yeah,
him to lose his wicket early.
yeah.
With Smith, somebody, when I was talking about how David Warner is basically, you know, if we say in English, in a polite way, an advocate for India. He said the same thing for Smith, and I said no. Smith is not, he hasn't sold himself to India.
Yeah,
He's
no,
just bad at playing on Indian pitches. It's not that he chooses to be bad. He is inherently bad. He cannot play on Indian pitches, be it one days
you're
T20.
saying that to the guy who has hundreds
Yeah, he
in
might,
India.
100% he may. But I
Yeah,
think,
yeah. But he
overall,
finds stupid ways to get out in India. 100%.
I think he just makes it look more difficult than it should be betting in India. And for him, who has, somebody who has such an extravagant technique, for him to get out in the ways that he does in India, it's once again, it's not what you would not expect, but it is disappointing to see him get out in India the ways that he does. So when Smith got out, I said no, he didn't throw it away. He's just bad at batting in India. So with Smith, I'm not surprised. With Marsh, he had it coming. David Warner, we all know he was gonna, throw it away for himself. I would have been surprised if Warner actually stayed in and played a big knock. I'm not surprised guys like, let's say, Labuschagne and Travis Head
Yeah,
took the game away because they don't have IPL contracts to worry about. You know,
yeah, yeah.
guys like
They're people to please.
yeah, there are guys like Mitchell Stark, Pat Cummins. Even though Pat Cummins does play the IPL quite
But
often,
he dropped out
He
last
didn't
year.
play
yeah,
the last
He
exactly.
season,
didn't
so
last
doesn't
Yeah,
year.
he
have a
didn't play
contract
last
now.
season. He
Yeah,
opted out.
yeah,
And Stark, Stark said a couple months ago, I think he said he's willing to make an IPL comeback next season before the T20 World Cup. So the guys who threw their wickets away all have IPL ties. And I'm not implying anything beyond
yeah,
Warner. But the guys who took the game away don't really care about the IPL. Enough said.
yeah, yeah,
There is that aspect of it. There's also the aspect that, these guys, they do tend to get more and more vulnerable whenever the ball starts moving. And the ball was moving a bit towards the start. The
It was
Indian
moving too
seamers
much.
did come hard at them.
Yeah,
yeah,
So there's also that aspect. Like if we were to, stir away from the more controversial take on it, we could. But
yeah,
on the other hand, the controversial take does kind of make sense, and it
yeah.
it
I
gets you
mean,
worried.
yeah.
Why do these guys?
When Marsh winked at one of the fielders when he got out, what do you want to
what,
think?
what, what was going on there? And one of the things that really got me and Fardin Afnan kind of very uncomfortable was Mike Hessen's predictions and how accurate it was. Him talking about, oh, India's gonna win by 70 runs.
Kohli gets
Shami
his 50th. Shami
Kohli
gets
gets a
7.
50th 100. I see Shami getting 6 or 7. I think he might even get 7 at
Daryl
that
Mitchell.
point.
Who would have predicted that?
Darren Mitchell getting 100. Those are a lot of combinations to get
Just to
right.
get one right is difficult.
Yeah,
To get
just
two right
yeah.
is unreal. To get
Um,
5 or 6 right,
you're raising questions at that point, right? Yeah, and especially because someone who was director of cricket for a franchise, and that's not us implying anything. We're just using facts We're presenting facts essentially.
Before we get to Travis Head's innings, and I mean, obviously have a lot to talk about that. Can we talk a bit about the difference between the two keepers today, Josh Inglis versus KL
Oof.
Rahul?
Yeah, some guy in some group chat was talking about uh, that Josh Inglis does not look like a keeper, and I don't know what a keeper is
What a
supposed
keeper
to
should
look
look
like.
like. Yeah.
I don't know what a keeper should look like, but
Achmaki.
I think one of the guys in the chat, and he's the captain of one of the teams I play with, he replied and he said, "Bro, he's getting the job done and he's doing it better than a lot of guys who look like keepers. So I have no problem if it doesn't look like the keeper." Gil Rahul made a big difference in terms of the runs he let through, especially after they were 47 for three. I think he let a few through in that period where one went for four, a couple went for doubles, and all of a sudden, without even scoring off the bat, they're picking up runs. And at that point, Marnus was struggling a little to get settled. Travis Head was playing and getting squared up. And I guess because you raised the question of keeping, how big of an or impression did English have on everyone, I guess, as a whole, because of how well he kept to Australia's reverse swing. And he did not let anything by, what Cummins, Hazelwood, Stark, everyone was getting a lot of reverse swing towards the back end of the innings, and he pretty much had a faultless game behind the stumps.
Did you guys see the picture of Aisho Speed holding the World Cup and he says, "We'll win the next one, India, next time"?
No, no, no. A
Say that.
good thing I did it. I don't want to see that.
Josh Inglis really showed India, how you keep to swing. I mean, not that India needs to see how it has to be done, but KL
Yeah,
Rahul seemed really off color yesterday, and the ball was hooping around a lot. It
yeah,
was turning around corners. Shami, Bumrah, Shami was sort of like the meme that we look at. I mean, the meme that we've seen a lot. Suffering from success, DJ Khaled. That's what was happening to Shami. Shami is getting too much
yeah,
swing, and Rahul
yeah,
has no idea. Uh, so yeah, Josh Inglis got the job done, whereas Rahul, if he could have, maybe stopped those or could have stopped the leaking of runs, that might have helped India create a bit more pressure. But I think his keeping or his lack thereof really released the pressure for the bowlers and let Australia sort of ease into scoring the singles and doubles and to rebuild.
yeah. No,
Have you seen the
100%.
video of John Simpson in the county where he's keeping up to the stumps to fast bowling?
No, he's the middle six keeper, right?
Yeah, so he's keeping up to the stumps, and the
Yeah,
bowler's bowling outswing and inswing at around 135, 140, and he's just up to the stumps and gloving everything.
yeah, yeah. That guy's crazy. Yeah. I mean, Kilrell's kept well throughout the World Cup, but just like everything else, it unraveled on the big day. Rakimul, any thoughts?
No, that's pretty much it. Like, there's one day you don't want to mess up, and that one day you kind of do. That's rough. And with Mohammad Shami, the way he was bowling, it was also difficult to keep to him. The way he was
Yeah,
moving the ball around. This is exactly why they didn't give him the new ball throughout the tournament. Also, you take the new ball out of Shiraj, you automatically make Shiraj very much ineffective. And you don't want to
yeah,
do that, right? There's a
yeah,
reason you're playing him ahead of Ashwin. You've already made that call, so you might
yeah.
as well use Siraj to his full potential. Otherwise, what are you even doing with him?
What are you doing? Yeah, yeah. No, 100%. Let's get into the beginnings, the big partnership. From 47 for 7, 47 for not 7, 47 for 3 to 239 for 4. 192 run partnership between Travis Head and Marnus Labuschagne. Uh, Marnus, people talking, what a story. If you think about it, 6 months ago wasn't even in ODI pictures. Um, 3 months ago wasn't in the picture for the ODI squad. Went to Australia, went to South Africa as an injury replacement for someone. Had an amazing series. Got called into the World Cup squad. Came to the World
He
Cup.
got called up for head, yeah?
Huh?
Labuschagne got a call up because Head was injured, right?
Yeah, Head was injured in South Africa, so he went to South Africa. Yeah, that's right. And then, um, you know, after last game, the way he threw away his wicket, we talked about how Marcus Stoinis might be a better option given his versatility with the ball and the bat. But I mean, he's proved everyone wrong today. KP, Kevin Peterson said on X that this was by far Marnus's best knock in an Australia shirt. Um, what do you guys make of that knock and how much of a support that he gave to Travis Head made the difference for Australia in this run chase? Because to get 50, I mean, he scored at 50 strike rate almost, but he played exceptionally well.
He soaked up the pressure, all the pressure that they had because of the 3 wickets going down. Marner sort of went in, put his head down and he played the perfect, let's call it, test knock. He sort of, you know, he did batted the balls needed to. He took he rotated the strike. He didn't let Travis Head have to worry about the run rate or even the fact they were getting bogged down. And he
Yeah,
sort of let Travis do he took on the pressure and let Travis do his thing, which is what you need in small chases when you don't know how quick to go.
yeah,
If you should go ahead of the run rate and go all guns blazing from the start, or if you should hold back and wait it out and risk having the run rate rise up too much near the end.
yeah,
You need to find a balance in these medium run scores or medium run chases, and
yeah,
that's where I think Marnus Labuschagne's innings, because he sort of took the pressure away from Head and let him do his thing. He was basically what Head needed at the time, and
yeah,
he was sort of anchored the innings while letting Head play his shots. And Head was doing the best thing that I saw Head do was once he got to around, I think 65, 70 odd, maybe even 50, 60, and
he just started
Australia still
attacking.
needed
Yeah,
Australia needed, let's say, 50 more to win or
yeah,
60 more to win. He was getting a boundary first or second ball of every over.
every over. Yeah,
And so he
yeah,
was basically winning the over in the first, third or even the first ball. So he had the
yeah.
momentum with him going into every over. That sort of helped them to, pace themselves and not get ahead of themselves or worry about the run rate too far.
One of the best things was, no matter how many times we say that, playing the natural game is overrated, players should just play however they want to, the
Yeah,
circumstances favored both of them so much in a way that Travis Head could play his attacking game all while Marnus Labuschagne. The whole criticism with Labuschagne from some of the fans was always that, he's a test player. He doesn't actually belong in white ball cricket. Okay, he can play a test knock over here and win it for
yeah,
win
and it
his country the whole
does
World
the
Cup.
job. Yeah,
It
exactly.
perfectly does the job. And they did exactly that. They played the game that suits them because that's also what suited the nature of the game at the time. And that sort of worked perfectly for them. And these are, look, I know these things, they sometimes seem like, okay, it's easier to say these things. Australia are the kind of team who know how to implement these things. When they
Yeah,
select a 15-man squad or when they select an 11 for a final, everyone's roles are clear, which unfortunately India aren't able to do. And when I say India aren't able to do, of course, that means you trickle down. You think about teams like Pakistan, they aren't able to do that. Bangladesh aren't
no,
able to do that. Most
no,
other teams aren't able to provide that level of clarity, which Australia always can. You know what Maxwell's role is. You know what Labuschagne's role is. You're not going to select
yeah,
Labuschagne to score a 30 ball 60. You have
no,
Maxwell for that.
no,
At the same
yeah.
time, you won't select Maxwell to, get you out of a troubled situation where he has to get a very slow half century. No, that just won't happen.
I guess for our last question here, Travis had innings. What do you guys have to? I mean, from each of you, context of the World Cup final, biggest stage of them all, stands up, neutralizes India's bowling completely, neutralizes India's fielding completely. They had no response to him. Like Rakimul said, played his natural game throughout, brought the, soaked up the pressure, dug in. Something that Australian players always talked about is, digging deep, absorbing that pressure, and then coming out on the other side of it and then attacking and, giving that counter attack that we know Travis had very well for. So, stage is yours, guys. Give the tribute to the man that he deserves. All right, someone gonna go.
See, go ahead.
Travis said being left out, being actually being forced to be left out of the games in the South Africa series, and then making a comeback halfway through the World Cup. I was watching a video where I think Pat Cummins said that it was actually the coach's idea. It was actually Andrew McDonald's idea to carry him for the first couple games and then have him come back halfway through. And the coach was having sleepless nights because he wasn't sure if Australia would be strong enough in the World Cup without Travis Head. That sort of shows how much confidence the coaching panel and the team management has on Head and how much they believe in
Yeah.
him.
Mhm.
But it also shows how much Head, how much commitment he has shown or how much performance he can deliver for the team, which causes the team to be so dependent on him as as let's say their best choice opener going into the World Cup when they couldn't have him play for the first couple of games and then having him come back, it was always going to be difficult for him to adapt to the situation, to cope up with the pitches everyone else is playing on, and then
Plus
be able
injury.
to
Yeah.
have an impact. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, with his injury as well.
Yeah.
So having crossed all these hurdles and then being able to come back, make 100, on his World Cup debut, first game
Yeah.
back, I think two fifties in between,
Yeah.
50 in the semi, getting his team through, across the line, and then
Yeah.
100 in the final, almost, hitting the winning runs.
Yeah.
It's it doesn't really you can't describe his contribution or his importance in the team with words, but also the way that he got the team, almost with the winning runs if he didn't get out, it sort of shows that the faith that the team has had in him, he's also had the ability and that sort of the drive to pay them back, to sort of show them that he can repay the faith they've had in him. And the innings that he played, it it's basically, it was a one man show against India. He
Hmm.
single
Yeah.
handedly took the game away from them,
Yeah.
and he showed. I mean, hey, you can have 130,000 people in the crowd. You can have Modi, in the stadium. You can have Jay Shah doing
You
whatever
can
you
have
want.
Ranveer Singh yelling at umpires. What is
Yeah, you
umpires
can have
call? Yeah.
Ranveer Singh. You can have Shah Rukh Khan. Everybody in the house.
Yeah.
End of the day, if I want to bat and score 100 and kick you guys out of the game, too bad. Go home, cry more.
Cry more.
You can't be too mad at Ranveer. He just lost a film gig right there. That was a potential
And Akshay
milestone
Kumar. And Akshay Kumar.
opportunity right
Yeah.
there. He
Yeah.
just lost it,
Virat
unfortunately.
Kohli
But no,
biopic. Yeah.
in all seriousness, now coming to Travis Head's innings, we also have to keep in mind that this man, he scored the match-winning century in what, the World Test Championship final not too long
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
He did it in the semifinal, man of the match performance right there with both bat and ball, and today near perfect performance. We've spoken about that catch. I think it's also good if we just mention that he gave his captain 2 overs, nothing much,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
two
Nothing.
overs,
True.
4 runs. That's good enough, right?
Yeah.
Someone like him comes in as a seventh bowler and does that. That's good enough for that situation. And
That's
then
all they're
look at that
looking for
innings.
at that position, right? That's all they want. Yeah. No, go
He
on.
did
Sorry.
look a little uncomfortable in the innings towards the start, but he didn't
Yeah.
let that get to him. He didn't let that bob him down, which pretty much is exactly what happened with the Indian batters. It's like Virat Kohli and KL Rahul, they were maybe caught in two minds, maybe too intimidated, not by the bowling, but by the situation in which they could leave the team if they get out attacking. And Travis
Yeah.
Head did not worry about those things. And one thing that of course helps is, when you win a game from being 91 for 7 at one point in the tournament, you're not as afraid of losing. And you're also
Yeah.
not as afraid of losing when, you don't have a thousand or a million people cheering for you and their whole livelihood depends on you all of a sudden. No, you don't have that pressure. You play because you as an individual want to play for your country, you want to win it for your country. And that's exactly what happened with Travis Head. He played, as Avi said, he was an integral part of this Australian setup for quite a few months now,
Yeah.
especially with Aaron Finch having retired not too long ago.
Thank God
And
for
he
that.
did exactly that.
Uh,
With
Finch
all
is
that
packing the
said,
pounds now. Yeah.
with uh, with all that said, I think he played a little too well. compared to what we would have expected. Even Fardin Kibriya saying that he's the man to watch out for. He's his key
Yeah.
player after the semifinal, but I don't think even he would have expected such a
Hmm.
good innings. It's
Fardin Mike
always
Hessian.
phenomenally good to see, this new star being unraveled or unearthed in a way that, the cricket world hadn't appreciated him before.
Yeah. Well, boys, it's been a pleasure.
One more thing. One more thing.
Yeah,
We see
yeah.
we see two stars on the Indian badge,
It will stay 2 stars for a
right? But
long time.
we've never
Australia
seen.
had zero badges, by the way.
No. We do have a badge, and if you look closely enough, the Australian logo has 5 stars on it. We call it the Southern Cross, and
Right.
it's an integral part of the Australian symbolism. It depicts the stars that we use, that the navigators of the early settlers used in the sky to map out the country. It's also believed to be like as a guide, like a guiding star in the sky. So there are 5 of them. They make a cross, and then there's one. I don't know which way. It's here for you guys. It's on this side. So
Yeah.
it's 5 stars. Now that we've got 6 titles, we need to add one more star, maybe on top or somewhere inside.
Maybe
We
I
don't know.
don't.
But yeah,
We're
India,
just gonna.
just do a massive star. We know what? We'll change it to the
Yes.
Pakistan logo. We'll
I think Shan Masood might be happy about that. Before he comes in for the away series, yeah. Uh, no, boys, it's been a pleasure, honestly. The morning after has taken shape throughout this World Cup. We've had 39, 40 episodes now altogether. Obviously, we'll be back when Bangladesh is getting steamrolled in Sylhet.
Yeah, next week
Uh, Next week, yeah, we'll be back with a segment
with
for that.
lives. Are we
But
doing live shows or no? Just morning
I
afters.
don't know. We'll see. We'll see what the tide is at that time. But no, I think from Travis Head to Patum Nisanka to Samara Vikrama to Rachin Ravindra, we've had a lot of really good performances at the World Cup. We've seen Quinton de Kock play his last ODI. Virat Kohli get 50 ODI hundreds. Mohammad Shami against all odds coming back. Bangladesh
Mahmoudullah
promising a
Riyad
lot.
against all odds.
Mahmoud Riyad against all odds. Highest run scorer. Bangladesh promising a lot, not really delivering on
Delivering
anything.
nothing.
And rise of Afghanistan in the World Cup, and I guess in world cricket
The
as a
downfall of
whole.
India. The downfall of
The
India.
downfall of India and the 500,000 off-field theatrics that they have done to try and eliminate ODI
Everyone
cricket.
else. Yeah.
And yeah, we can be sure that they will not be trying to eliminate ODI cricket at least for another 4 years because they haven't won the World Cup that they really wanted to win.
And next time we
Uh,
come back with 16 teams,
yeah, and no, 14 teams.
14 teams. Yeah.
Yeah, we're back with 14 teams. But yeah, um, and also Netherlands had been good. Temba Bavuma caught a lot of slack,
For sleeping.
but yeah, but yeah, it's been a pleasure to cover all of that with you boys, and we've had good support throughout our channels across all platforms. So we appreciate the support. We hope you guys continue to support us and keep spreading the word of Bagradda. That's what we can ask for. If you guys have any final words, anything to add, go for it.
Akimu?
I think Kibriya pretty much summed up everything. It's been pretty wonderful journey. It wasn't really planned from before the World Cup.
Yeah,
At the start
awesome.
of the World Cup, Kibriya came up with the idea. I just rolled with it, and it kind of worked out. We didn't miss a single game, so that's always amazing.
Yeah,
And it's always been great to have Alvi, Afnan, Sagor, someone or the other joining us every now and that's
yeah.
always added more to the fun. And yeah, it's not, again, I know we've been very harsh, we've been very critical. It's been a good World Cup, all things considered. It's still been a pretty decent World Cup. Unfortunately, it hasn't lived up to our expectations due to some organizational and administration reasons, which is why we were being harsh. That's it. We
Yeah.
expect better at that level.
Yeah.
There are things like weather you can't control, but there are things like these which
The
you
weather
can
was good. The
and
weather was
should
great.
100%
The
control.
weather, yeah,
Weather was
yeah.
great. That's what I'm
The-
saying. See, this is where I'm comparing it to England
Yes,
2019,
to
where
England.
weather ruined a lot of matches. You can't control the weather, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's just a comparison. That there were things which
No,
should have been
fair point.
controlled. There weren't.
100%. Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
why we spoke about it. Like I know it's a little annoying to hear these things again and again, but those of us with a platform, no matter how small, if we don't speak about it, who will? The
Yeah.
broadcasters we know won't, so someone has to.
The broadcasters are I mean are the most
Perpetuators, I
behavior,
guess.
the
Yeah.
biggest behiyas in the whole situation, bigger than
Yeah.
Jay Shah and Modi ji, are the
Yeah.
broadcasters. Easy. And yeah, to finish off, I'd like to say, India, despite trying to rig anything, everything and anything they could have rigged, and still losing the final, apni auqat dikha di.
And I think one of the best finishing points for the World Cup was that picture of Pat Cummins and him actually raising a concern about the pitch. We didn't see that in the semifinals when the pitch was changed. People just kind of rolled with it. ICC gave a statement that, BCCI probably told them to roll out, whereas Cummins knuckled down and said,
Yeah.
it goes my way.
Kona
Um,
chamba na.
and yeah, exactly. And, you want guys standing up to stuff like this. Mark Butcher said it on Wisden that if people don't start standing up to it, people don't start making a voice against it, and they have certain feelings within them that they just continue to go through because we don't want to push the bear or we don't want to tickle the bear, kind of, it's not going to help the progression of this sport. And
100%.
it's good to see someone in power of a national team be able to do that and not be afraid of the consequences, because in all honesty he could be worried about 10 things, but he's not. And I guess, yeah, good to see Australia get the cup. um,
And
Thank you for
just to add to
following.
that, a little
Yeah,
message if we had to give to the Indian team, we love watching you play, by the way,
yeah,
regardless
hundred
of all the
percent,
trolls and
100%.
everything.
Yeah,
We wouldn't
yeah,
want to have a World Cup without India because the cricketers, we've grown up watching them. We are
yeah,
genuinely, a lot of us genuinely felt even a tinge of sadness for Rohit Sharma not being
yeah.
able to win a World Cup because he didn't have one.
He
Virat
didn't
Kohli
have.
got his
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
Rohit Sharma never got to win a World
No.
Cup. Mohammad Shami is never going to get to win a World Cup.
And his life's come a full circle to not being here for 2011 to being captain in 2023, right?
100%,
Yeah,
100%. The way Hardik Pandya had to miss out, these things are unfortunate. We feel for the Indian players because, in a weird way, they're almost catching strays here for things
yeah,
which aren't their fault at all.
yeah,
They're just
yeah,
part
yeah,
of the system. That's it. They can do almost nothing about it here.
yeah.
And
No,
for
hundred
their
percent.
sake, I hope these things get better so that, at the very least, maybe we can finally again start supporting India in a neutral
For the
scenario
right reasons. Yeah,
for the
yeah,
right
100%.
reasons. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope it comes
No.
down to that.
Yeah, no. Thank you, boys, and thank you
Yeah.
everyone for following Bagradda. Keep following, subscribe, like, share, comment, and Alvi, please finish us off with your famous line.
Ant already auqat dekha disi.
All right.
Uh, yeah, I think it's gonna be a bit weird next couple of days. No World Cup games, nothing to
Yeah,
look forward to,
yeah,
and we sort of go through this, let's call it withdrawal, after every tournament,
yeah,
after the IPL, after the World Cup.
100%.
Life sort of seems boring until the next series, and then you're like, oh, okay, cricket's not every day. It's gonna be every couple of days. So yeah, it's been to be very honest, I was thinking a couple of days ago, the fact that Bangladesh actually played this same World Cup seems like a lifetime ago.
It's
Because
like a distance for
yeah,
us. Yeah,
we got eliminated, I
Good
think,
point.
over a week and a half ago. But come the semis, I'm like, were we playing the same tournament last week? Because it feels like it's two different time zones, two different eras. So that was a bit unreal. But yeah, I mean, World Cup's over. No more Dil Jashan Bole. No more Kane Williamson, Virat Kohli, Steve Smith in the World Cup. No more Mitchell Stark, Glenn Maxwell. No more
yeah,
Poncho Pando. Next World Cup is going to be very different. By then, Kibra will be married. We'll have kids.
He
Why
and I
am I
will be
catching
just sending
strays?
reels to each other on Instagram.
Yeah, yeah. So I was
We
about to
won't
say
age.
we. I was about to say we'll all be married and have kids, but then I thought
Yeah.
no, it's me and Rakim, we won't.
You
Kibriya
and I
will.
know.
No chance. No chance.
All
So
right,
yeah,
boys.
it is what it is.
It is what it is. All right, boys. Been a pleasure. Catch you guys soon. Thank you.